removes his shorts, which makes him finally notice his, quote, state of undress. As the woman speaker imagines the unfolding of this seduction scene, she wonders if he would ignore the, quote, heat of the moment and rush back to the seriousness of his, quote, movement talk. The poem reads, "One day, you're gonna walk in this house and I'm gonna have on a long African gown. You'll sit down and say, 'The black,' and I'm gonna take one arm out, then you, not noticing me at all, will say, 'What about this brother?' And I'm going to be slipping it over my head, and you'll rap on about the revolution while I rest your hand against my stomach. You'll go on, as you always do, saying, 'I just can't dig,' while I'm moving your hand up and down, and I'll be taking your dashiki off. Then you'll say, 'What we really need,' and I'll be licking your arm, and the way I see it, we ought to, and unbuckling your pants, and what about the situation, and taking your shorts off. Then you'll notice your state of undress, and knowing you, you'll just say, 'Nikki, isn't this counter-revolutionary?'" Nikki Giovanni undresses the category revolutionary and opens up new dimensions of this Black cultural revolution. The dimensions that show people wanting Blackness to be a collective release, not the collective robotic nature embodied in the man addressed in the poem. When Black nationalist rhetoric becomes anti-erotic, as figured in Giovanni's poem Seduction, it becomes an enclosure of flesh. Flesh, as theorized by Hortense Spillers, is what the Middle Passage makes made of Black bodies. Fred Moten captures the core of Spiller's insight when he simply states, "This flesh that we might call a body." This language makes me think about the Black love of Blackness that creates tender ways of treating each other's flesh. This tenderness would work against any enclosure, any containment of the flesh created by the unspeakable containment of the Middle Passage and its legacies. This tenderness is lost when some 21st century Black artists fail to recognize that the critique of the enclosures of Black flesh is an undressing of Black nationalist ways of seeing Black bodies, not a repudiation of the Black arts movement itself, since the movement's liberation of flesh from the anti-Black violence is what produces the next step of this full freedom of the Black undressed subject. The electricity of the Black natural-unnatural mix, going back to Madhubuti's critique of Diana Ross, partially for wearing the wig, this sense that it's unnatural, it's fake, she's not performing natural Black beauty. The electricity of the Black natural-unnatural mix is what is canceled out in some Black arts movement male-authored representations of Black women. In many Black arts movement texts, it is hard to find a female counterpart to Larry Neal's celebration and some reflections on the Black aesthetic of, quote, "Bobby blue bland with a dashiki and a process." But when we recognize that Madhubuti's description of Black aesthetics unbound, open, in his poem Winder and Brooks, really can be read as one of the most lucid expressions of the role of the Black fantastic in the Black arts movement, we appreciate the natural-unnatural mix and the explosive, playful stanza that deserves a constant citing if we are to understand the dramatic, complex performance during the Black arts movement of the substance of style. Madhubuti writes, and this is the poem, the end of the poem entitled Winder and Brooks. Black, double black, purple black, blue black, then black, was black, day before yesterday, blacker than, ultra black, super black, 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 yellow black, never black, black, white man, blacker than you ever these, 1/4 black, unblack, cold black, clear black, my mama's blacker than your mama, pimple black, fall black, so black we can't even see you, black on black, in back, by black, technically black, man tan black, winter black, cool black, 360 degrees black, coal black, midnight black, black when it's convenient, rusty black, moon black, black, star black, summer black, electron black, spaceman black, shoe shine black, gym shoe black, underwear black, ugly black, ancient mama black, Uncle Ben's rice black, Willie Best black, black is beautiful, black I just discovered black, Negro black, unsubstance black. At the very end of the Black Fantastic, one of the most important texts that teaches us about this substance of style. Richard Iden analyzes Erykah Badu's video performance of the song Bad Lady. This video begins with Erykah Badu literally opening up the sides of our viewing screen in order to make room for herself and the other performers who are all dressed in different monocolor flowing clothing that evokes Ntozake Shange's use of different use of different colors as a way to identify the Black women characters and for color girls who have considered suicide when the rainbow is enough, 1975. Iden's focus on the movement of Badu's hands as she, quote, pushes back the frame past the standard margins, end quote, reminds us that in order to comprehend the Black fantastic, in order to comprehend the substance of style, we need to step out of certain frames that do not allow Black pleasure and Black political resistance to coexist and sustain each other. Erykah Badu performs the mix of pleasure and political resistance in one of her photographs of a side view of her seemingly unclothed body, her hand covering the part of her breast that could be visible in the side view. In this photograph, buttons that would normally be pinned to clothing are on her bare skin, in a vertical arrangement from her shoulder to almost the midpoint of her arm. Two of the buttons have a picture of Badu and the words "Free Badu" surrounding the circle of her afro. The most visible button, the one easiest to read, contains the words "I love being Black," with the heart shape inside of it. This button has a green background. The red, black, and green colors signal that this love of being Black is for Badu a steady re-energizing of the colors, the vibrancy of Pan-Africanism and Black cultural nationalism. In this period that Richard Iden calls the post-post, Badu entangles the ongoing Black freedom struggle and the heightened interest among young Black people in the 20th century to claim their right to be individuals, not only a part of the Black collective. The buttons with the words "Free Badu," of course, echo the Free Angela Davis campaigns, but they also echo the Black fantastic energy in Amiri Baraka's In Our Terribleness that makes the most individual type of freedom searching inseparable from the larger Black freedom struggle. When Erykah Badu's embrace of individuality and her critique of groupthink in her window seat performance is connected to her many songs and performances that reinvigorate 1960s Black cultural national style, we see that the recovery of that which Baraka identified as the Black bohemianism of cultural nationalism is the most riotous aspect of remembering Black power and fighting against the current tendency to flatten it. The bohemianism and the cultural nationalism constituted each other as investments, and being Black became inseparable from investments and performances of the Black fantastic. When Erykah Badu's first album put her in the Black public spotlight, she always wore her hair wrapped in an upward style that sparked the Badu-inspired covering of the hair by many young Black women in New York City and in Brooklyn in particular. Badu put the 1960s and 70s natural Black hairstyles back in motion in the urban Black style. The covering of the hair with African prints had, during the Black arts movement, a Black is beautiful pull that was as strong as the movement's embrace of the Afro hairstyle and the natural. After Badu gains the success with her first albums, the covering of her hair becomes a sensational issue discussed in magazine interviews. When she is asked what is under the covering, she explains in one interview that she has locks and that the locks are fake, that they are hair extensions, not her own hair. Through the years, as the trajectory of her hair play continues, Badu first begins to perform with the locks uncovered and then moves to a new public image when her hair is cut very short. Since the very short hair look, she has continued to perform and be photographed with many different hairstyles, but the cap that looks like a cap worn under a wig in her public performance art at the site of John F. Kennedy's assassination is the moment when her play with the role of covering and uncovering in Black aesthetics, putting on and taking off, gains the most power. In 2010, as Badu unveiled her body at the site of JFK's assassination, this queen of neo-soul performed a reclamation of the most natural type of Blackness, the nude body with no covering or artifice whatsoever. As she walks down the street, she slowly removes her clothing and then simulates her own assassination before the performance ends with an image of Erykah Badu with a purposefully exaggerated African braid hairstyle and a wry smile. She critiques the ongoing assassination of Black people who claim their freedom in the most militant and public manner. She performs freedom as she takes off her clothes and pretends that she need not care about any external gaze. This is when Amiri Baraka's words, "You can put on new clothes," and "In Our Terribleness," 1970, echo and take on new shapes in the 21st century neo-soul re-energizing of the Black arts movement performance of the free Black body as free Black mental space. In contrast to Baraka's words, "You can put on new clothes," this neo-soul icon of cultural nationalist style non-verbally proclaims in this 2010 performance art, "You can take off your clothes." The 1960s putting on of Blackness was always partially a taking off of an ideology of Blackness in order to find what Hakeem Madhubuti, in the poem Gwendolyn Brooks, calls that unsubstance, a state of becoming comparable to the word evolving that appears on Badu's back at the end of her 2002 performance. This electricity that we see in Badu's unveiling, this substance of style, is also what we should feel when we recognize that the holding on to the Black power sign making and the letting go, both the hands up, freestyle gesture, and the Black power fist matter, right? That this substance of style continues. Thank you.